The year is 1984. The world is a powder keg. In Washington and Moscow, leaders understand one terrifying truth. A nuclear war can be won in minutes, but only if you strike first. This led to a paranoid question that haunted the Kremlin. What happens if a lightning-fast American strike kills the Soviet leadership before they can even reach for the red button? To the military planners of the Soviet Union, the concept of mutually assured destruction felt incomplete. They realized that their massive arsenal of intercontinental ballistic missiles was only a deterrent as long as the chain of command remained intact. But the US had deployed Pershing II missiles in Europe, which could reach Moscow in just 6 minutes. 6 minutes is not enough time to verify a radar signal, wake up the General Secretary, and authorize a counterattack. This critical vulnerability birthed one of the most secretive projects of the Cold War. Its official name was Perimeter, but the West knows it by a much darker title, the Dead Hand. Perimeter was not just a computer. It was a complex, decentralized nervous system built deep into the Earth's crust. It began with the communication systems which linked the general staff to every missile silo across 11 time zones. But the engineers knew that in a first strike scenario, these lines would be the first to be severed. They needed something that could think for itself when the humans were gone. The system relies on a network of hardened bunkers located in the most remote regions of the Urals. Inside these bunkers, sensors are constantly monitoring the environment. They aren't looking for traditional military signals, they are looking for the apocalypse. They measure gamma radiation levels at thousands of points. They monitor atmospheric pressure for the characteristic overpressure wave of a nuclear blast. They listen to the seismic vibrations of the Earth to distinguish between a natural earthquake and the impact of a multi-megaton warhead hitting a city. But the most critical part of the Dead Hand's logic is the communication check. The system is hardwired into the radio frequencies used by the High Command. As long as it detects regular traffic or a heartbeat signal from the Kremlin, the Dead Hand remains in a state of watchful waiting. It is a passive observer of peace. However, if the sensors detect radiation and heat, and the radio frequencies suddenly go silent, meaning the central nervous system of the state has been destroyed, the machine takes control. This is the logic of the grave. If the machine determines that a nuclear strike has occurred and the leadership is dead, it initiates a protocol that no human can stop. It doesn't fire the missiles immediately. First, it attempts to contact any surviving high-ranking officials in secure bunkers. If there is no response within a preset window of time, the system concludes that the nation has ceased to exist and prepares for the final vengeance. The authority to launch the world's most powerful nuclear triad is then transferred to a small, isolated team of duty officers in a specialized bunker, or, as some experts believe, the system can bypass them entirely in its most autonomous mode. At this stage, the Dead Hand is no longer a weapon of defense. It is a weapon of pure, cold retaliation. Once the Dead Hand triggers the final sequence, the execution begins with the launch of the 15P-011 command rockets. These are not weapons of destruction, but weapons of communication. Tucked inside their reinforced silos, protected by meters of steel and concrete, these rockets are designed to survive the very blasts that killed the leaders who built them. When the command rocket roars into the sky, it doesn't head for Washington or London. It arcs high above the Russian landmass, entering the thin air of the stratosphere to broadcast the final order to the entire nuclear arsenal. From this vantage point, high above the dust and electromagnetic interference of the burning cities below, the rocket begins to scream. Its nose cone contains a massive, high-powered radio transmitter that broadcasts a continuous encrypted signal. This signal is the unlock code for every surviving nuclear asset in the Russian inventory. Across the vast wilderness of Siberia, inside the submerged hulls of nuclear submarines and mobile launchers hidden in the deep forests, the machines receive their orders. The Dead Hand signal bypasses all standard human authentication. It tells the missiles that the war has already been lost, and now it is time for the enemy to lose as well. Thousands of warheads are released in a coordinated automated wave. This is the second strike, a retaliatory blow delivered by a ghost. When the West finally learned about Perimeter in the 1990s, the reaction was one of pure horror and disbelief. The danger of such a system isn't just its power, but its potential for error. In the history of the Cold War, we know of several near misses. In 1983, a Soviet satellite mistook sunlight reflecting off clouds for 5 incoming American ICBMs. A human officer, Stanislav Petrov, had the intuition to realize it was a false alarm. A machine, however, follows its programming. If a sensor array in the Ural Mountains had malfunctioned at that same moment, the dead hand could have interpreted the silence from Moscow as a sign of war, triggering an accidental global holocaust. Despite the collapse of the Soviet Union, the dead hand was never deactivated. In fact, it has been significantly modernized. In the 21st century, Russian military officials confirmed that the system is not only operational, but has been integrated with the latest artificial intelligence and hypersonic delivery systems, making it faster and more resilient. In the modern landscape of cyber warfare, the existence of the dead hand raises even more terrifying questions. If a sophisticated state-sponsored virus could spoof the dead hand sensors, could it trick the system into launching a strike in the middle of a peaceful afternoon? Russian doctrine maintains that the system is the ultimate guarantee of sovereignty. It is a psychological shield. By telling the world that, even if you kill us, you will die, they create a grim stability. But this stability is built on a foundation of terror. We have delegated the survival of our species to a network of sensors and old copper wires buried in the dirt. As geopolitical tensions rise, the dead hand remains in its bunker, listening to the radio static, waiting for the silence. It is a reminder that in the age of nuclear weapons, the machines we build to protect us may one day be the only thing left to remember us. The silence of the Urals is not peace. It is the sound of a machine waiting for the end. It is a silent mechanical titan that doesn't care about politics, ideology, or the future of the human race. It only cares about one thing: the last command. And in the world of the dead hand, the last command is always the same: total annihilation. As we move deeper into an era of autonomous weapons and AI-driven defense, the shadow of the perimeter grows longer. It stands as a monument to a time when we were so afraid of losing that we prepared a way to destroy the world from the grave. Whether it is a relic of the past or a guardian of the future, the dead hand remains the most terrifying insurance policy ever written in human history. The machines are ready, they are listening, and they are waiting for the silence that follows the end of the world.